Not exactly hidden. The steaming drink in front of him seems all right, but he's chemically scanning it just in case. Jacob has been allowed to keep his weapon, has not been harmed, and promised answers. Answers that are on a data slate he's browsing through. It's a long, long list of people who've been spotted in the supple satisfaction and what they were doing. From the janitors getting what the cleaning drones didn't, to the security he's personally recruited and the many, many customers. They were the biggest haul in the sheer mass ratio. But the 7 women in charge were the biggest catches. His wing grippers shook in rage at the sight of some of them. Valerie Karth was a name he'd seen often as the owner in numerous resorts. Xalia Surratt actually owned his favorite restaurant chain, Ample Additives. Their gimmick was that you could get downright industrial amounts of whatever sauces you liked with every order. Penderhout was almost heartbreaking. He never actually met her, but he had liked the sound of her voice. Although perhaps the sound of her screams will be better. It kept going on and on. The less than honorable judge Felicia Height. Liadra Drevik was even worse. Lois Amarga wasn't someone he wasn't familiar with, but there was enough data to tell him that this one was bad. She would need to be cleanly removed from power, or the entire planet would suffer. Finally, there was Brenda Saberhagen, the one with the most obvious hard power, a fleet admiral. "So, is there any plan for dealing with these people?" Jacob asks, just as the chemical scanner comes up. There are a few chemicals in the water that are there to kill parasites, but they're harmless to a being of his mass. The small jumble of stimulants are less than harmless, and are likely going to be something he will need. For the most part, it's going to look like a police officer asking a standard question in their interest. People like this are self-serving and don't think that public servants are any threat to them. Pukey explains as Jacob sips at the hot fruit drink. So, it will be a surprise to them when they're all arrested within minutes of each other. As that happens, we hit the main facility and arrest every single employee of these bitches, from the accountants to the leg breakers and everything in between. Finally, we're also doing a mass evacuation of all the children at once. It's a big operation, and you nearly blew it for us. Well, pardon me for not knowing that people I never met would be doing things I never dreamed of. Jacob's tone is dry enough that Pukey cracks a grin. Fair enough. But now, you know why we had to jump on you and stop you so quickly, right? Yes, Jacob says. Still, I have defensive tattoos, a powerful weapon, and surprise, and you still treated me like a punk. Well, there's training for that, if you want it. Pukey offers before he pulls out another data pad for Jacob to peruse. You've got passion, you've got guts, and you've got will. That's all we need to make a top-tier, undaunted soldier. So it's true then. Some tiny military has declared itself a state and is poking in galactic affairs and recruiting like lunatics. Yes, I'm one of them. Clearly you're good at your job if you're down an eye and arm. The eye was lost to a snicked blade arm as I was escaping a major casino in the ROG system. The arm was about a minute after I killed that snick with my stolen plasma pistol, and she got me by surprise with a plasma sword. I got the sword from her and let her know what it felt like to be carved into pieces. Jacob lets out thoughtful sound. I'll get the full story out of you later. I need to know what's going on next and the full plan on how to get the kids out. Some allies of ours have transformed a local mushroom forest into, well, I'm not sure if there's a proper name for it, but there's a massive living axiom life form grounded into a mushroom forest, and it has some very unique abilities. One of them is an unblockable and nigh undetectable teleportation ability with a galactic range. The Bright Forest, as it's called, is very powerful, and despite being the younger example of its species, is still capable of locking down or protecting anyone within its range. So that's where we're going to teleport all the people we arrest and where we're sending the children. It will knock out and pin down the criminals and protect the children at the same time. So, in order to fight kidnappers and rapists, you've made a gigantic axiom life form that bends the laws of galactic axiom, use, and physics. No, they were setting that up beforehand, and then we stumbled on the fact that there's a child trafficking ring on this planet. How do you just stumble on that? We're bounty hunters. One of our trainees was using himself as bait to bring out a pedophile into the open. We accidentally lured in a police sting and from them learned that someone is regularly trafficking in child flesh and they thought they were getting a lucky break. Bet that was a fun conversation. At first. Then when they learned that the poor abused Nagasha that was being sold was heavily armed and followed by stealthy combat drones, they changed their tune. It got a bit better when they also learned there was a nearby sniper ready to kill anyone that hurt the kid. Sniper? Also called long shots and sharpshooters, Pukey says, and Jacob nods. That makes sense. All right. You have a plan. You have the resources and the skills. Now, what can I do? I want these fuckers to die, but I'll settle for a century in a cold, dark pit. I'm part of this. I want to run this down to the bottom. I want to see them burn. Good man. One of the biggest bits of help is if you can look over our maps and plans and see if you spot any weaknesses. You're the closest we have to an inside man, and your knowledge is more valuable than any amount of weapon fire, Pukey says. All right then, what are we looking at? Jacob says, and Pukey nods as he rises. Grab your drink. I'll take you to the planning room. And what room is this? Jacob asks. A spare room with some furniture in it. Pukey responds before giving a nasty grin. This used to be the Chaining, the very same slaver ship that took me and Slithern from our peoples. I and the rest of my crew have turned it into a criminal hunting war machine. But it's designed for a larger crew than what we have. So there are a lot of spare rooms. But of course that means you'll likely run into someone's stash somewhere. Really? We like our trophies, Pukey remarks. So come on, Bird Boy, we need to get your eyes on the prize. Bird Boy? Jacob asks as he pockets the data slates and follows Pukey out of the room. He has the drink in one wing and in the other he browses through the second data slate he got. It's a contract, a military recruitment contract for a 5-year stint as an Undaunted. You want to recruit me? Jacob asks incredulously. Yes, why wouldn't we? Our introduction to you was you pulling off a massive long con on a criminal organization and then making a fucking blitz to rescue the young and defenseless, calling out the names of your fellows as battle cries as you cut down the people that did you wrong. That's a hell of a resume. Of course a military would like that, Jacob mutters as he browses through things. I get to refuse orders I deem immoral? No, you're required to refuse immoral orders. Pukey returns and Jacob looks up oddly as he considers. A military is the defensive and offensive arm of a government. We as the Undaunted have dedicated ourselves to the rescue of others in impossible situations, which can be relief from a brutally effective criminal, to being stranded beyond the reach of normal rescue, to the evacuation of trafficked children. Saving these children is exactly in our purview, and you seem to have a knack for blitz tactics. You've used that word twice. What is it? Fast and overwhelming force before the enemy can be properly prepared. It means lightning. It sounded Meccan. German, actually. It uses a similar sound base as a language, Pukey remarks as he enters the planning room. Jacob's eyebrows crawl up as he sees the pattern of the supple satisfaction's underwater base of operations, and he quickly rushes up. How? The bright forest is a powerful ally. It's spread, its spores throughout much of the base of operation. But we don't know much of what's going on. We've only fully infested one of the 10 towers. Right. This one I recognize. It's the one I was based in before, when I was... How did you escape? Pukey asks. And Jacob's naturally sour expression turns outright murderous. I was a squirmy shit and played hide and go seek. I heard everything that happened. I heard who I thought was a sweet-tempered caretaker call us things, and I found a way to run. It took a lot of work. I had to be careful, although more than anything I was lucky. Did you ever fully recover? No, I haven't. Apparently I was fully grown when they first got their hands on me. I was in debt and apparently addicted to schleppa and all but sold myself to cover the debt. I've made a point of never so much as tasting it this time through. But I'm missing at least 50 years. 40 years they erased and 10 in their stables, Jacob says. I can occasionally get a ghost of a taste. Something sour but with a sweet finish. A pleasant burn and a feeling of weightlessness. It must have really dominated my life if all I can remember is the schleppa. Well, you have a new lease on life now and you're not sitting around to let it pass you by. So let's make the most of it. What can you tell us about the buildings? Each one has its own little theme with all the security, maintenance, and all sorts of luxury accommodations for the guests. The one you've got scouted out is called Good Nights, which boils down to the fetish of barging in on some child's room, doing whatever you want with them, and then getting away clean. Pukey's disgusted look takes a moment to pass before he steels himself. I see. And the other buildings? The only difference is the catered to fetish. That's all. The layout is identical in each one. The security patrols, the locations of the main security chambers, all of it down to the last leather couch, Jacob says, and Pukey grins. This is excellent news. Is there anything else? Yes, you see this archives room, Jacob says, pointing at the bottom of the tower's 3D layout. Pukey nods. A lot of customers get an exhibitionist thrill as well, which means that room is an even bigger hall than simply a recording of everyone who was there. It has video evidence of them in the middle of the act. Perfect, Pukey says with a growl of anticipation. Oh, this is beyond perfect. This will be enough to not only put everyone into the deepest pits in the system, but there will be so much evidence they may even instigate the death penalty. Woo, won't that be interesting? It will be the least they deserve, Jacob mutters. Pukey makes a considering sound as he points towards the overall area of the base. Is there anything more you can tell us? Some hitch in the guard patrols or other such things? I made a point to send in strong but stupid women to do the job. They're competitive, argumentative, abusive, untrusting, and generally thicker than the reinforced dome surrounding the place. Those I haven't recruited will be smarter and more capable, but they'll be surrounded by doubting idiots. We noticed that. Our infiltrators have been playing a massive paranoia gambit against the more observant members. Paranoia gambit? Teleport in and be vaguely spotted and vanishing when they freak out to make not only other people doubt them, but make them doubt themselves. Good. That shouldn't be hard. Like I said, the ones I sent in are abusive, so you might have even triggered a few brawls. Not that we're aware of, but it's good to know their cohesion is so poor. I still want in on the raid. How do I do that? Jacob asks. You need to sign up and be willing to take orders. Pukey's cut off by Jacob's speed reading the rest of the contract and then agreeing to it. I'm in. What next, sir? Jacob asks. All right then. We'll fix you up with some additional armor, weapons, and communicator. You're going to be working with a small team, so just follow the team leader's orders and you'll be sending dozens, if not hundreds of freaks to their doom and even more children to salvation. I like the sound of that.